Lauren Greiner is the 8th guest that we've had on the show, and this was a really, really fun one for me because for those of you that don't know, my dad and Lauren's dad were actually partners for a long time at Prudential, or what was then Prudential, which was an unbelievable brokerage in the state of Utah. I've known her and I've known her family for a really, really long time, and it was really fun to get into some of the details of Lauren's life and her background because it felt very similar to what my story is. And I know that she has had to face some of the same demons, I think is what I refer to them on the show, but some of the same demons that I feel like I've had with seeing success in the business, and then also having to understand that, you know what, just because your dad is who he is doesn't mean that that's what your success is attributed to, doesn't mean that that's what your failures are attributed to, but also giving credit where credit is due and understanding that, you know what, maybe I do have something of an advantage being who I am within the industry and being raised in the way that I was raised. She does an unbelievable job of showing the pros and the cons that come with that, and I'm super excited for you guys to hear her story. Welcome back, everybody, to the Who's Your Agent podcast. This is episode number 8, I hope. I think that's the right number. We got Lauren Greiner sitting in the hot seat.
What's up?
And normally we just jump right into this, but I do want to take just one quick minute, and I want to plug our sponsor today, Union Title.
The best of the best.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever repped a title company on the show. What I mean, I know you use Union Title, and obviously you're a little bit biased, but give us like a quick 30-second plug on Union Title.
I am biased to Union Title. My mom owns Union Title, and my husband works there as well.
Matt Greiner, everybody.
Yes, he's awesome. So I am a little bit biased, but I think Union Title is awesome. Jennifer, who's the owner, is an attorney, so that's really nice as far as.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she went to law school.
Okay, Jen.
Yeah, she's a baller. But that's like a huge thing. Not a lot of title companies have that. So it's nice, especially with clients, when I have clients that need help. I'm like, hey, I have a real estate attorney, and she doesn't charge anything for it, which is super nice.
And it kind of lets you stay in your lane, right?
Yeah. But then I can kind of advise it out and do that. And then also, I just feel like, obviously, their communication is great. And I don't know, they're just kind of team players. And where they're smaller, they know exactly what's going on with everybody's deal. And they make the experience for my clients very easy and awesome and personable, which is awesome for me. I look for that a lot in different companies. So
well, sweet. There we go. Union Title for all of your title needs.
They didn't know they were going to get a little shout out today.
Well, no, but I think that does a great job of kind of leading into what my first question is whenever we start these podcasts, and that was where you got your start in real estate, right? What your life looked like, and I know that your answer is going to be very similar to mine, which was like, I've been here. This is all I know. I don't really have much of much background outside of real estate, but like, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got started, where you're, you know what I mean? Like, give us a little bit. And what we're realizing is that it's very interesting to see the stuff that pushes people into this. You can really see a lot of the clues from where they got started to how their business is being built afterwards, right? So tell us a little bit about where you were at, how it all got started.
So, I have a frog in my throat. There we go. Okay, so getting started with real estate, I'm a lot like you, so I was like born into it, which came with a lot of like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not going to follow in. Like I just said, my mom owns a title company. My dad owns a very large brokerage here in Utah. And I was like, I don't want to follow in their footsteps. I want to do something else.
Yeah, and almost like you were against, at least this is how I felt. Like, I was against real estate, not because it was real estate, but because that's like what everybody was expecting me to do.
Exactly. So I, at the beginning, was like, no, I'm going to find my own thing. And so throughout high school, I actually thought I wanted to be a teacher, which is comical now to think about. But I thought I wanted to teach 3rd grade or 2nd grade, kind of like lower elementary school. So in high school, I did a lot of like interning with that. And I just kind of realized like, school really wasn't my thing. It just wasn't something I was good at. It like caused so much stress in my life. I had to work really, really hard on it. And come to find out, I have like a lot of test anxiety and all that fun stuff that we deal with when we figure out once we're adults. And so I started working at what was Prudential, when I was like 14. So like I constantly was just in the business, and I thought, well, like, I wanted a job, and my dad was like, well, you can come answer phones after you're done with school. And so
I think really quick, that's a really important thing to bring up, right? Because the reason that I felt like I was so against real estate wasn't because I was like a humble observer from the outside looking in saying like, I don't want to be a part of this. My first job in real estate was sign installation, right? Like,
Which is
or
not
moving
fun.
furniture, right?
Yeah.
You remember the old Prudential office over on State Street in the old True Park? I moved all that furniture out,
Okay.
right? Like so when I said I didn't want to be in real estate, it was because like, to me, that's what real estate was.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it was like, I mean, I think I grew up watching everything happen with my dad. Do you know what I mean? He started young and kind of going through that. And I mean, it was fun to watch. I mean, like, I remember him having magazines of listings. Do you know what I mean? It was before the MLS was around. And so I just kind of was like, I want to do my own thing. I never wanted people to be like, oh, she's only successful because who her dad is or because of who her mom is. And so I kind of steered away from that for a while. And then, so I started answering phones. I kind of did that. And I started to kind of see the culture and the people that, I mean, there are still agents that are at the brokerage today that were there when I was a receptionist. And it's so fun to see kind of that family like connection that has kind of always been there. And then I got approached to be an assistant for 2 brothers that are successful here in Utah. And I was an assistant for them for a while. And I kind of at that point was like, why am I not pursuing this more? I should try. So I was like, I'm going to do my classes. And I was going to college at the time.
Studying.
Still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a communications major, like maybe like doing broadcasting or something like that. And then of course that didn't work out. I was like, no, just kidding. That's not what I want to do.
But you kind of had to go through it to figure that out,
I did.
right?
Yeah. And again, school, just like I didn't love school. I would find myself like skipping out on classes to go to work. And so, I finally decided, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take my classes. It took me forever to do my classes. I think I did them 2 rounds because I was so indecisive. I was so like off, like I couldn't decide if it was what I wanted to do.
How much of it do you think was just like you battling the inner voices, like the inner demons of like, I've told myself I'm not going down this path?
Probably a lot.
Yeah. Like
A lot.
I feel like it took me a long time to get comfortable with that, right?
Well, and I was just like, I'm going to do something else. And like, I didn't know what that was. And I was like, I wasn't like fantastic at one thing. So like, it wasn't like.
Where do you think that comes from? Like that, because I felt it too, right? Where do you think that almost like denying what you were supposed to be doing? Because now you're in real estate, you're very actively involved in real estate and you're doing really well in real estate. What do you think it was that was kind of keeping you out? Was it just like.
I think it's more like my pride. Like I was like, I can't do this. I just want to do my own thing. I want to make sure that like I make a name for myself. Like I knew I wanted to do something that like helped people and that like brought me satisfaction. Like I wanted to wake up in the morning excited to go to work and excited about what I was doing and felt like I was like making a difference. I wasn't just like doing something to just do it or to make money. It was like I wanted something that I could provide a really good life for my family, but still and still have a family, but then also still chase my dreams and do what I wanted to do. And so I think I was just trying to figure out what that was. And so
what was that moment? Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
honestly.
what was that moment? Like, cause I love what you said. Like you were skipping school, which is probably something that was very important to you.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden you're skipping school to go and be a real estate, work in real estate,
Yeah,
right? Regardless of what it was at the time. That had to have been like a weird moment where you're like, shoot.
Yeah. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. I shouldn't be skipping school to go do real estate activities.
Yeah. I don't know. It was really, honestly, I battled because I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'm going to do this. I took my classes and then it took me, I don't know if a lot of people know this and I'm always embarrassed to say it, but I feel like maybe if there's like a new agent out there or like someone that's like, hey, I think I'm going to get my real estate license and they stumble upon this. It took me like, I'm not sure how many times it took me to pass my real estate test. Like, and that is like so sad to admit, but it took me so many times to pass it. And I think it was because I grew up in it that I would like get in that testing room and I would like overthink it. It's like, Johnny, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, if there's so many options, like, I don't know. It depends on the situation. Exactly. Yeah. So I remember one time I like failed my test for the 17th time or however many times it was. And I laid on my mom's floor at her office and cried. And I was like, I fought this for so long and it took me so long to like be all in. And then I never like committed. Like, I mean, like I committed, I was ready to go. And I can't pass this stupid test, and I'm not meant to do this. Like,
and now I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah, I was like, this is so dumb. So anyways, long story short, it took me literally forever to pass my test. Matt and I didn't even pass it when Matt and I got married. And Matt and I have known each other for a long time. So we finally got married, and then like a month later, I passed my test, and then the rest is kind of history.
So did you jump in straight into being an agent at that point? Did you continue assisting? What did that first year in real estate look like for you?
First year in real estate was interesting just because Matt and I were newlyweds. I passed my test, and then he decided to go do summer sales. And so that took me with him just because we were newlyweds, and I was like, I don't want to leave you. So we actually moved to Louisiana. And so I passed my test, and about a month later we moved. So I assisted on the side, like long distance, like in Louisiana, which was great. I just did like some transaction coordinating stuff just because I knew how to do it
remotely. Yeah.
And while I was out there, my uncle who lived here in Utah was like, hey, I need to sell my house in Salt Lake. And so I kind of assisted my dad on that one. And that was kind of like my first, got my feet wet. And then once I got home, I really felt like I hit the ground running. So I got home from summer sales in like August. And I weirdly got like a listing in Eagle Mountain randomly from some farming that I had been doing. And then from there, I got like a neighbor that called me off my sign. And it kind of just started as I got my name out there. Because I was born and raised here, it just kind of started happening, which I felt very blessed because my journey to get to that point was really like, I feel like it felt a lot of times I was like, okay, wait, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I not supposed to be doing this? Why am I even trying? Like, maybe I should be a dental hygienist or something like that. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
how would you say, because I've obviously had to fight some of the similar demons that you have. How would you say, how have you fought some of those demons? Like when you get that listing and you're like, you know what, it came from some farming that I was doing. People are like, it came from Bruce.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because I think what I was able, or what I have been able to do in the last couple of years is finally get comfortable and realize that, like, you know what, I did have an unfair advantage because of the position that my dad put me in. The unfair advantage that he put me in, though, was riding around in his truck at 10 years old and hearing phone calls and hearing and just being actively involved in meetings. And like, I've known your dad since I was a kid because my dad would bring me around the office and I'd meet Bruce, right? So there are advantages, but like how would you say that you've used that? Because you probably tried to fight it, right? Even once you got in, once you got licensed, once you were done crying on your mom's floor, you probably had to fight like, no, I'm doing all this. I'm having the success, right? But so rather than just like shove that away and act like it's not there, like how would you say that that's helped you?
I feel like it kind of like fuels the fire a little bit inside of me. I feel like that's probably part of like the competitiveness that I do have and that mentality of like, there really is no excuses. When it comes to business, like you said, I mean, a lot of times I feel like whether I like it or not, people are always going to talk. And no matter who you are, people are always going to talk about you. They're always going to, and it's good or bad. And you're the only person that can decide if that's going to affect you, right? And so early on in my career, I felt like that would really like tug at my heart. And I'd be like, no, I'm working so hard for this. And you felt like
you had to convince everybody.
Yeah. Like I was like, no, like I really can do this. Like I really I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Like I'm not being spoon-fed the business. And like you said, yeah, there are family members or referrals or things like that, just like anybody else gets.
Yeah.
But like, luckily, I think your dad's done the same thing is like, it's sometimes not even like a good thing that they're your dad. You know what I mean? You kind of have a disadvantage because that pressure is on you to be the, not really to be the best, but like,
but you can't come in and coast and be somewhere in the middle.
No.
And that comes with its own challenges and its own trauma, right? Like it comes with its own territory, I would say.
Yeah, but I feel very lucky that like I did get to grow up in it because I feel like that is something that like I live, eat, and breathe it. And I always have. Like you said, you hear phone calls, and my dad used to always tease like, you're not at the negotiation table. You got to be at the negotiation table in order to negotiate. I mean, like, there's just a lot of things with it that I'm very grateful for, but I think that did play a lot into at the beginning of my career. I felt like I was always trying to prove myself, where now, I mean, like I'm almost 30. I feel very content, like with where I'm at. And like, I don't need to be
how would you say that your business has changed, and what would you say has kind of stayed the same as you've kind of transitioned through your career a little bit more?
So
you've been in how long now?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm coming up on 7 years, or I'm at 7 years. I think I just barely renewed my license like literally today. But as far as like transitioning goes, early on in my business, I felt like it was just kind of like word of mouth. Do you know what I mean? Like I had like friends that were buying their first houses. I spent a lot of time with first time home buyers, which I loved. I did a lot of like first time home buyer seminars and really just people that were in my same situation where they were like newlyweds or like people that wanted to invest in their first properties and kind of, get into those and move on to something else. Where that shifted is I feel like, I don't know, it's still referral based, I would say. Like a lot of my business comes referral wise. But it really is just like, I feel like I'm just more content with the relationships where like, I don't feel like I'm like as a new agent, you're like, I'm very lucky that I get to deal with a lot of new agents at our brokerage. I get to do all like
you help with a lot of trainings,
I
right?
do. I do all the new agent trainings there, which is so fun for me. But I can sometimes see like the starving like look of a new agent, and I feel like even as experienced realtors, we go through that. But I'm grateful that I don't necessarily have that anymore. I feel like I have a little
bit more consistent business.
Yeah, consistent flow of business where I'm very lucky because that doesn't always happen. And markets change, and we're seeing it right now where the market's kind of shifting a little bit. But I'm grateful for my clients for that purpose, is that they show up. Like, I feel like my clients are like, they show up and they're there and they're my friends, and, you know, they're my biggest cheerleaders. They're referring me out to everybody. And so I'm grateful for that, where before I felt like I was like, hey, please use me kind of
if
a
you
thing.
know anybody looking to buy or sell a home.
Where now I'm just like, it's kind of just known, and I'm really grateful for my circle of people and the clients that I do have and the relationships that I have made. So
what would you say that you do to earn that? Because that's not something that is given, especially in this day and age. Well, yeah, and I mean that like sincerely, right? Like that nod of approval, that thumbs up, that like, especially in nowadays when it's so easy to tag another realtor, when it's so easy to send somebody else's Instagram account. What do you think it is? What does it feel like to work with Lauren Greiner that makes somebody not only want to buy or sell a house with you, but also refer a friend or a family over? Because that is something that is 100% earned, not given.
Totally. And I feel like there's a lot of respectable agents out there that kind of have that same like status of business. But for me, I feel like I attract people that like I relate to a lot. So a lot of my clients are families that have younger kids or in same situations as, you know, like as my husband and I are in, just because like I feel like I'm a pretty real and relatable person. Like, what you see is what you get with me. I'm not all about like the shiny pennies and all those kind of things. Like, I'm going to tell you how I see it. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And I think that trust and that loyalty goes a long way with people. And for me, like, that's something that's very important to me. So I like to relay that to my clients, where they know, like, I am very loyal. I'm going to make sure that their best interest is at hand. I want to make sure that they trust me and that they know that they're being taken care of. And then, like, I mean, everybody says this, but like a lot of my clients turned into a lot of my really good friends. And I want to make sure that they're taken care of and they don't hate me like a year down the road. They're like, why did you suggest this property? Or, you know, why I wasn't ready to purchase this. And yet, you know, like somehow you convinced your salesman, you sold me on it. Right.
Well, yeah, what does that look like? You use the word take care of, which I think is like such a specific, like, I think that's a Bruce Tucker type word. Right. And I'm not trying to like, give your dad any credit for anything that you're doing. No, he's
awesome.
But I think your dad is the definition of take care of people.
No, 100%.
Right. And I think that's probably something I'm sure I have a lot of same tendencies that I've picked up from my dad. What does that mean to be taken care of right now? Because when I started this, my number one goal is for when people get asked who's your agent, why should they say Lauren Greiner? Right. What does that mean to be taken care of by Lauren Greiner on the biggest purchase that you're ever going to make? What does that mean to you?
What does that mean? I feel like I'm doing pageants again.
I know, and I'm not. Yeah, that's not what I want this to be. But like,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but like, there's 28,000 active agents,
there's
right?
A ton.
Like, there's so many, and not all of them are great.
No, not all agents are created equal, and that's okay. And every agent is going to be different for every person. Just like I may be someone's cup of tea, I also may not be, and that's totally okay. And that's, I think, what benefits having as many realtors out there as there is that, you know, you can kind of find somebody for everybody, which is great. And it's also not great sometimes too, because sometimes their reputation gets thrown in the mud. But I mean, as far as being taken care of, it's just treating people like I would want to be treated. So like that communication process, I think something that I'm good at is the transaction process. Like, I'm very good at figuring out a way to make pretty much anything happen, as far as like getting creative with marketing, or, you know, like getting an offer accepted, or figuring those things out. I'm not afraid to do the things I feel like that a lot of agents probably wouldn't do, because they're so focused on like the final outcome of like, oh, I'm going to get a paycheck or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said I didn't sell real estate for the money, because clearly I have to make a living for my family.
Yeah, whenever
right?
somebody's like, no, I didn't get into it for the money, I'm like, well,
then why are you doing it?
People know that you're getting paid to do this.
Yes.
Like, it's not like if that's a deal killer for anybody, I probably don't want to work with that person. If they're like, wait, you're getting paid. I'm like, listen, I love real estate.
Totally.
Not enough to do this for free.
100%. And I mean, like, I love it and it's great, but it is how I provide for my family. It's how, you know, like, I'm hoping to provide for my children's like future and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, the money side of it is great. It's not 100% why I do it. It's not why I wake up in the morning, but
the money side of it also goes away really quickly if you don't, if everything else doesn't come with the transaction, right? That's the first thing that goes away.
Exactly. So I think for me, like, I'm not always focused on the end goal. Like, if I have to get creative in making a deal work, I'm going to get creative in making sure that that happens, because I want to make sure that that client is taken care of. That at the end of the transaction or the end of the deal or whatever it looks like, and maybe it's not a transaction. Like, there's a lot of times I'll have conversations with people and they're not ready to buy right now. And so helping them figure out what those smart, like, pathways are. I mean, making sure I have a good lender and all those kind of resources to, like, push that client towards, to say, like, hey, you're not ready to buy right now, but you might be ready to buy. Yeah, but you might be ready to buy in like 2 years. So, like, let's figure out, like, let's get you with a tax person. Like, the amount of, like, my little summer sales guys that I love, that I've been able to help, say, like, hey, at your age, I wish I would have known this. Or, like, my newlywed couples that I love so much that I'm like, let's start you now while you're, 19, 20, 21. Let's figure out how to make sure that you can purchase your first home, or we can start that portfolio, and kind of guide them on that process that I wish somebody would have done for me, so that I could have, been in a better situation. I feel like we were smart with what we did, but kind of just like all the things I wish I would have known.
More, right? Yeah. There could have been more structure to it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's kind of what I mean by getting, like, taking care of people, is just
more than just the transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to think.
Well, no, and I like I said earlier, if your business is referral sourced, if your business is referral sourced, you have to take care of people. Otherwise, that goes away. No. Otherwise, that stops. Otherwise, people are not loyal unless you earn it, right? And that sounds bad, but I think it's just the reality that any experienced real estate agent has felt, right?
No, totally. Yeah, you got to have, like, your people got to know you love them. And you're going to have their back. Like, I think one of my biggest pet peeves is, like, when I hear people, like, give suggestions on things, or they're pushy, or they hide things, or they're not 100% truthful in the transaction, because it gives us a bad name. It gives us a bad, like, rep, as far as, like, oh, my agent didn't tell me that, or my agent didn't disclose this. And it's like, that's your job. Do your job. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the one reason why they hire you. Yeah, yes. Yeah. So really making sure that that client knows from start to finish that, like, if they ask my opinion, I'm like, hey, it's probably, you're going to be house poor. Okay, great. Well, let's weigh out all these options and really make sure
that you're okay with it, right?
Yes. And making sure that they understand, like, the benefits, but also the consequences as well of everything, and making sure that they just feel like, okay, cool. Like, they can make an educated decision, because at the end of the day, it's their decision. It's not mine. So I don't know. I hope I'm taking care of people. I think I am.
No, I think you have, like I said, I think that you have to, otherwise your business wouldn't keep going, right?
Totally.
Who would you say that you are outside of real estate?
Oh, that's a fun question. I'm a mom. No, I am a mom. I have 3 kids. I don't know. That's kind of, I feel like right now my identity is very caught up in my family and my kids. Because
I think that I've been on a balance kick for the last 2 years, because I think my first couple of years in the industry, I was one directional, right? I was very focused and very heavy on what my goal was within real estate, and family included kind of fell by the wayside. But I think you've done an unbelievable job of staying balanced and being there with your kids and spending that time. Yeah. So give us a little bit more insight on what that looks like. So
I hate the word balance, because
I do too. I hate that word.
There's no other such way. Yeah. There's really no such thing. And so I feel like for me, and I appreciate that compliment, that's very nice, because I feel like no matter where I'm at in work, I struggle with that. I struggle with the balance of work and family. Like, I want to be the best in the real estate world, but I also really want to be there for my kids, and I really want to be a good mom. So for me, it's kind of trying to combine the two, and getting creative with it. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take the day off, and I'm going to go to, like, a mom. I'm sure Courtney knows, like, all the fun mom group things that the moms will go do at, like, the park. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to build some relationships while I'm there. I'm going to try to, make some friends, or whatever that looks like. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Because again, you got to stay true to you, but really just, I don't know, outside of real estate, who am I? Mom of 3. Just, I don't know. My kids are why I do what I do. And I think something that shifted, and I don't know, maybe this, like, was a little nugget of wisdom, but someone one time asked me, like, what my definition of success was. And it was at a point in my life where I was like, I have to be the best. And, like, I would say, like, kind of how you just described your journey as far as like my family life was kind of taking a sideline, like the sideline a little bit, which sometimes it will. But when
I think that's part of the balance, right? Not just like in the day to day, but like over the course of a month, did I put them on the back burner for the whole month? Did I like, can we make this up on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Memorial Day type weekend? Like, I think that there's truth to that it's a seasonal thing, right?
Totally. And so they asked me like, what's your definition of success? And to me, I like kind of paused for a minute and they're like, is it to be the best, like real estate person? Like, do you want to be number one, or do you want to, you know, still be a very successful person in real estate, but, you know, still be able to see your kids and spend time with your kids and take time off when you want to? And to me, that kind of shifted my definition of what successful was. Like, to me, it varies on everybody, right? So like your definition of success could be different than mine. But for me, I had to figure that out in order to kind of find that balance in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Part of being the best for you was to find that balance.
Yeah, because I hated the person that I was when I felt I shouldn't say hated, but I felt so much guilt when I was 100% into work. And then I felt so much guilt when I was 100% at home and I was like a mean mom. Like I'd be like, I'm on the phone, be quiet. Like, shh. And I'd like lock myself in my closet trying to take phone calls. But really, like, I don't know. That's been the biggest thing for me as far as that goes. On top of that, I mean, like, I don't know. We love to like go to the beach. I like love to vacation. If I could be gone all the time, I probably would, but you can't do that. So
no.
We're doing that, and just, yeah, I don't know. We love to hang out and just party and have a good time. And I feel like my house is constantly full of people, whether we know them or not. And they're there and we feed them dinner and we hang out, and kids are running around like crazies, but I don't know. I'm a person that just likes to gather everybody and have a good time, and I don't know, come hang out. Let's all be friends, right?
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, you're the best. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.